Hello and welcome to Daily Records. I am Tommy Burton and we are continuing the month of June and guitar heroes and guitar players and all of that stuff. We're just going to roll right on through the rest of the month and talk about guitar music or guitar players or great guitar players. And rolling right along, we are going to continue on with one of my favorite guitarists, Mr. Robbie Robertson and the band. Most of you know the band from the Martin Scorsese film, The Last Waltz. This is their self-titled second album. A lot of people call it the Brown Album. It's just called The Band, released on September 22nd, 1969 on Capitol Records. And this is a fantastic album. It was supposed to be a concept album, and I'll just read the back cover here. I'll be down to get you in a taxi, honey. Better be ready by 8:30. Now, honey, don't be late. I want to be there when the band starts playing. Of course, a lot of people know the band. Garth Hudson, Richard Manuel, Lee Von Helm, Rick Danko, of course, Robbie Robertson. Were the members of the band. This was the group that backed up Bob Dylan on the famous 1966 tour when he went electric. These were the guys making a lot of the noise, with the exception of Lee Von. Lee Von wasn't in the group, or he had left the group for a second. And I realized when I pointed a while ago to Robbie Robertson that this is Robbie, not Rick Danko, like I pointed to earlier. I do know my band members. That is Robbie Robertson, so apologies. Anyway, this started out as a concept album. It's been seen as a concept album. It talks about people and places, and it's really an Americana album. There's a lot of historic themes on this album. Most significantly, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, which was written by Robbie Robertson. Funny enough, Canadian group. Wrote this beautiful song about Southern culture. And the idea was the South will rise again, as you've heard that phrase. And, of course, that song kind of takes that theme and explores it about that attitude. But it does it in a way that is not... it's not this sort of political, sort of... It's about people. King Harvest has surely come. And Jawbone, those are some other ones that are kind of focusing in on this sort of Americana theme that was there. Of course, Jawbone has a very unusual time signature. It's in 6/4, 6 beats per bar, which is quite interesting. Now they had gone to New York for a studio sessions, and they weren't able to really get anything done. So they went to the Hollywood Hills. They went to this, from what I understand, it was a pool house at this home that they rented. And it was a home that was once owned by Judy Garland and Wally Cox. And they all kind of went there. Sammy Davis, I think, had done some work there. But it was basically they were trying. This was the follow-up to the music from the Big Pink, the famous basement tapes recorded in there. And so they wanted to have that similar feel, kind of like the basement tapes, but they wanted it to have sort of this concept of recorded in a clubhouse. Now mine is a purple label, Capitol label, just to show you what issue it is. I know some folks are interested in that. And a really, really nice, clean pressing, even though it is a later pressing, but it's a fantastic sounding record. And it's come out several times. It's been reissued on CD. It's been remastered. There was a 2000 reissue that was overseen by Robbie Robertson. And so there's been several different versions of this album that have seen the light of day. But this does have some of their most acclaimed music. I mentioned The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. Rolling Stone listed that as one of the greatest songs of all time. And actually, Q Magazine, for my English readers, they ranked this album as one of the top 100 greatest albums of all time. Also, it's the Rolling Stone list of 500 greatest albums, so it's got its accolades. It was a top 10. It was a hit album, so it wasn't one of those albums that sort of floundered under the charts and became a cult success, but it was, significant because it did have success, and so I think a lot of people even would argue that this is the band's best album. I know Big Pink gets a lot of credit, but this may be the most sort of digestible version of that album. Now, in addition to those songs that I mentioned, also there's Rag Mama Rag and Up on Cripple Creek, which were also big hit songs as far as pop singles. And Rag Mama Rag, I think, did actually better in the UK than it did in the United States, but it was still a hit. And those were the pop singles from the album. And I think in the last 10 years, this was added to the National Recording Registry because it was culturally, historically, and aesthetically important. And it informs or reflects life in the United States. Also, to be mentioned, one of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. Great guitar playing. If you're into the Americana music or what they call Americana music, this album is definitely one of the benchmarks of that movement. And just a fantastic all-around album by one of the greatest bands to ever play, The Band. So this is today's Daily Record, self-titled The Band, The Brown Album. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment, share, all of that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, TommyBurton75. Check out the other channel, the regular channel. In the meantime, I'll see you all again tomorrow with another Daily Record.